What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with 4 videos. I need one of these shows to take a hiatus ASAP. But the first video we're going to do today is The Oval. This is season 3, episode 5. The episode was titled Behind Closed Doors. So, you guys, before we get into this review, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel and you guys are watching any other video on the channel, do me a big favor and stop taking me out on this date and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, the notifications turned on, share this video. And with that out the way, without further ado, let's discuss The Oval. Alright, you guys, so the episode. We pick up where we left off last week, and this is literally, I think, this is actually the only time in this episode where we'll discuss Bobby and Max. This is it. So remember last week that Max was kidnapped, right? By the Men in Black, Secret Service, whatever you want to call them, right? So this episode we see as Bobby is tracking Max down. So he had a tracker in Max's shoe, and at one point the tracker stopped. But he was like, you got to be quicker than that, right? So then he realizes that what has happened is that they have taken Max over to the White House, right? So then we see Kyle. So Kyle gets a phone call from Donald. And Donald is telling Kyle that he wants him to go into the residence and he wants him to stand outside of, keep an eye on Jason. And Kyle is like, why do you want me to do that? So then he says that the reason that he wants him to do that is because, Dr. Meadows, she called him and she informed him that Jason is having a manic episode, right? And I was thinking to myself, even Kyle said it. If the doctor said that he's having a manic episode, why not then send the doctor in there? Or at least, try to find someone to have him committed. But you want me, a Secret Service person, to stand outside of his room. Interesting, right? So this is going to be the last time that we talk about Bobby and Max and Lily in this episode, which I thought was kind of interesting that we had them in the beginning of the episode, but we never went back to them. So remember I was just telling you guys that Bobby was tracking Max, and he tracked Max down to the White House, right? So at this point, Lily comes upstairs and she tells Bobby that she's going to be going to the White House. So he asks her what car she's going to take. And she tells him. So then he tells her about Max, going, them kidnapping Max and taking him to the White House. And that he needs to get clearance to get into the White House just to tell them that, she's having him drop something off. And he wants her to give a name, an alias, and a social security number, right? Now, here's the thing that kind of tripped me up, right? So you're going to the White House to drop something off. Donald knows what you look like. So you can give as many fake names and social security numbers as you want to give, but Donald knows how you look. So if Donald runs into you, Donald will automatically know that you're there because of Max. So that would kind of, unless you're going to wear a disguise, I'm kind of confused as to what he's going to do. But Lily calls Alan to get the clearance for him, and she's able to grant the clearance. And she says she's only doing this, for Max. And that he's like, well, can I get my car back? She says, I'll give you your car back once you get Max out. We're going to pause here and we're going to move forward. That was interesting, though. The fact that he's going to go to the White House to get Max. He doesn't really know exactly. Never mind. Maybe they'll talk about it next week. All right, you guys. So Victoria, she's in the residence, right? So she goes by. She sees Kyle standing outside of Jason's room, right? So she asks him, why is he there? He says he is just, there to keep an eye on him. She's like, why are you keeping an eye on him? He says, I don't really know why. She says, oh, yes, you do. Because he's crazy. So then she goes into this whole long... The thing with Victoria that I don't understand is, if you think that not Max, but Kyle and Donald and whoever else want to have sex with Hunter, why do you care so much? Because she's telling him Hunter is never going to sleep with him. And I'm just like, huh? You know, looking at Victoria in this scene, she was very much giving Veronica vibes from the haves and the have-nots. But I was really confused as to why she just kept going on and on and on. Basically, she was making fun of his sexuality, right? Then at one point, she made a lot of sense at one point, right? I'm gonna give Victoria this because Victoria was talking about the fact that the real reason that Max is outside of Jason's room is because Hunter is downstairs with Ellie, right? And Hunter doesn't want what happened to Denise to happen to Ellie. You guys remember what happened to Denise? Ick. So, but the thing is, Victoria made a very valid point. You were outside of the room when Hunter and Denise were doing their thing, right? And Jason still managed to sneak in and, you know, karate chop her, right? And she made a very valid point. So what's to stop him from sneaking out of this room and going down to to her office and doing whatever he wants to do? Very good point. So then we see Hunter. So Hunter goes down to Ellie's office. Tyler, I really need you to do a better job writing Hunter because when you write Hunter, Hunter comes off as a complete creep. He comes off as a creep. Like the way he talks, and it's just black women. So for him, black women are a fetish. I was trying to say, I couldn't get the other word out. Fetishize. They're a fetish for him, basically, right? And it's just the way that he was talking to Ellie that just kind of threw me for a loop, right? So, he's talking to Ellie and he's telling Ellie, I've been texting you. You haven't texted me back, right? And she's like, well, that's because I've been, busy all day. So like you do realize that the press is not talking about the attempt at your life, right? They're calling me your little whore, and he finds that funny. She's like, you think that's funny? So she tells him it's over between him and her. He says it's not. I'm like, oh God, this is not a good look. Didn't really like that, but we're gonna pause here and move forward. All right, guys. So then we see Barry. So Barry, he's at the crib, and Nancy comes downstairs, right? So he's asking about Richard because he wants to talk to Richard, and she's like, I put your daddy to sleep, right? He's like, I need to know that. She's like, what do you want to talk to him about? He says, I really want to talk to Sam. She's like, well, why don't you call Sam? And the reason why he wants to call Sam is because he remembers something. We'll discuss that a little bit later. So then we see Victoria. Speaking of Victoria, why does she walk the way she walks? Like, it's almost as if she got a stick up her ass. Just saying. So Victoria went down to Ellie's office where Hunter was, right? And, Ellie is telling Hunter to leave. And Victoria's like, yeah, you should leave. So, where we at? Did I get ahead of myself? No. I didn't get ahead of myself. Yes, I did. Actually, no, I did not get ahead of myself. I'm behind. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, Victoria went to the Ellie's office. They had a little bit of a back and forth. So then Victoria and Hunter, they eventually both left together, right? So Victoria says to Hunter that he put Kyle on Jason so he wouldn't basically do to Ellie what he did to Denise, right? And she once again mentions the fact that all happened and Kyle was literally outside of the door, right? So she tells him that she wants Ellie gone. He says, I can't do that because unfortunately Ellie knows too much. So then she suggests, just unliving Ellie at this point, right? And he says, well, if anyone needs to be unlived, it's your dad. I'm like, okay, whatever. So then we see Sharon, right? So Sharon, she goes over to Nancy and Richard's crib to get her stuff, right? Barry has all of her stuff in a box packed up for her, ready to go, right? So then he starts to kiss on her. She's like, Barry, you're high because you're horny. And then she killed the mood When she told him that Kareem was outside, he flipped out, right? So when he flipped out, he went outside and she's like, yep, Kareem is not here. I just did that to just basically piss you off, right? So then we see Donald. Donald, he went to see Dale at the hospital, right? Dale asked Donald, what does he want? He says, oh, I'm just checking on you to make sure you're good, And he tells him, I need you to leave. Well, that's not going to happen. So then he asked him if he saw Kyle. And he says, no. He says, and you won't see him again. Because if you do, the guy that did this, the guy with the nice ass that did this to you, he'll be back to do it again. I'm like, come on. All this behind some... Okay. Whatever. Let's move on. All right, you guys. Next up, let's talk about Alonzo and Alan. So Alonzo and Alan, they were in the break room. They were eating, right? So Alan is once again asking Alonzo, is he going to come by his, crib later that night, right? He says yes. Then he says, why are you acting so strange? So Victoria comes into the room, break room, and she says, yeah, why are you acting so strange? So Alan's like, you know what? I'm going to dip out, right? So Victoria then, she's once again talking to Alan. She's telling Alan about, her wanting him to basically touch Ellie, right? You guys know what I mean. I'm not going to say. So he asked her if, if he thinks that she's scared of him. He tells her, no, I'm not afraid of you or your husband, right? He says, I'm not afraid of you and I'm not afraid of your husband, right? So, where are we at? Let's see. Oh, so she basically was like telling him, like, where Hunter is right now? He's in her office. Why don't you go down there and, pop him? And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I would never do that to the president. She's like, you're not being recorded. So then she fondles him a little bit. And that's the thing that with Victoria. She wants to make fun of his manhood. Whatever. I mean, Victoria, what you just did to him, he could have a case against you at any minute if he wanted to, right? So Priscilla shows up to work and, she notices that something is off with Alan, right? So she asks him. He tells her, he was in the break room with Alan. First lady came in there. He was acting strange. But he can't really talk to her about it, so he'll have to call her a little bit later, right, to tell her about it. So she gets the clearance to go in. Sam is there, right? Her and Sam have a conversation with one another. And then, he's like, what are you doing here? She's like, I'm here to do my job. And she's like, oop, and I see the first person I'm looking for, and Victoria walks by, right? So she walks up to Victoria and asks her how she's doing. Victoria ignores her, right? So then, Victoria walked away. So Sam and Priscilla are talking. So Sam is telling Priscilla, like, hey, can I have a conversation with you to the side, right? And then Victoria comes back up. She's like, I need to have a conversation with you. Sam's like, it's not a good time, man. She's like, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about Priscilla in the yellow room. She's like, ooh, the yellow room, Sam. The yellow room. So then we move back over to Nancy and Richard, right? Nancy and Richard, I guess they in a good space after getting, a little sexy, sexy time with each other, right? So then Barry comes into the room, right? And Barry tells them remember I told you guys earlier that Barry wanted to talk to Sam because he remembered something. Well, the thing that he remembered is Denise, right? You guys remember Denise was having the affair with Hunter, right? So he remembers that Denise was at the White House, but Denise never came back. And then they all, they talk about the fact that Max picked Denise up and, she never came back. But then, Nancy remembered what was said on the news about Max and Yuma having an affair with Denise. And, Richard was like, I know both of them, and that's not how they are. So then we're gonna we're wrapping up the episode. So Sharon goes to the pharmacy and Kareem is there, right? He asks her how is she doing. She says she's good, right? He asks her where did she stay at for the night. She says she stayed with Barry. He says no, you didn't. So then her phone starts to ring, right? And it's Hunter calling her. So Hunter is inviting her over to the White House for a tour. She says I've already had a tour. He's like, oh, the tour that I want to give you it's top secret stuff. So then Kareem says, ask if your boyfriend can come. So she says, can my boyfriend come? He's like, well, I want to give you a private. I thought this would be private. You know, there are things that I want to show you that your boyfriend might not want to see. Now, girl, if you didn't catch the sexual innuendo at that point, something is wrong with Sharon. Like, girl, you literally didn't catch that. He wants to show you something that your boyfriend might not want to see. Okay. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to just say anything. I'm just going to move on. All right. So, let's see where we at now. So, let's wrap up. So, we're wrapping up, right? So, Donald goes back to the residence, and Kyle is still standing outside of Jason's door, right? Kyle is still upset with Donald, right? So, Donald says to him, you know, you don't even know this kid. He says, yes, I do. He says, where does his address? Where's his mom's name? This kind of stuff. He says, you don't know it, so you don't know him. All you know is that the ass was good. So then Donald tells him basically that I'm the only person that you're going to fuck. And Kyle says, what I wanted more often. I was like, okay, y'all are both interesting characters, right? So they're outside of the door, right? Then they hear a noise. They go into the room, and what happens? Jason is there dangling. I'm like, oh my God. So this nutcase tried to unlive himself, right? You guys, that's the end of the episode. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Please leave your comments in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified of when I drop anything else. Share the video, and until the next one, you guys stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.